So here I'm continuing to model the little character, this little rabbit. And one technique I've been really liking to do is just I create a cube, I run a smooth operation on it, and I only set the subdivision level to 1, sometimes 2, and it gives me kind of what's called a polysphere. It's a sphere shape, but it's all made out of quads. There's no triangles, and they make much. It's something that ZBrush has it as kind of one of their basic shapes, and this is how you generate it in Maya. But you'll see how I position it in for different body parts, and it just really helps. Facilitates easy, good modeling, good topology, and low topology and no triangles. So I'll start with one and kind of make the different body parts and start to position them. At this point, I'm really not concerned about this being the final mesh. These are rather temp meshes, sort of just blocking in the parts separately. There's two reasons for this. One, if I just need to pose it into a scene, it's a quick temporary rig, or for drawing on top of this is really helpful. But also it seems just easier for me to block in these shapes one at a time, and then I can kind of create a mesh and shrink wrap it over these things as a single mesh. And that's just a little easier for me. I don't have to be worried so much about topology on this first pass. I'm just really more worried about shape and form and volume. So if I need to add subdivisions, I'll be adding subdivisions here and there to get myself some more resolution to play with. I'm using the orthographics constantly to sort of check myself. You have to do a little bit of what the orthographics say, but then also look at your model in 3D space, kind of turn it around in your perspective view. And while you're doing that, you'll kind of use your intuition and just sort of go by what looks and feels right. And then you can use your orthographic views to sort of see how it's lining up to the drawing. The drawings tend to have a certain appeal that you're going after. You want your model to have that same feeling, but it's not always, tracing it isn't always the right answer. Sometimes you need to kind of look at the drawing next to your own model and make modifications to get the same sort of spirit. So it's that idea. So I'm just grabbing some vertices, individual ones, and kind of shifting them around. There I'm using some of the sculpting tools Maya has. They're very similar to ZBrush, probably borrowed off of what Mudbox used to be by Autodesk. And you can use them to sort of smooth out. You can average out. They have that third one over. It sort of just relaxes the vertices without losing the volume or the forms. So it just sort of relaxes the topology over a certain area. So I really like that one. Here I'm kind of grabbing the bottom vertices of the foot and then flattening them using the scale tool. And I kind of get to that foot on the ground, and then I can start to move them from the side view. So you'll just notice I'm constantly bouncing in and out of perspective view and my orthographic views. Whatever works best at any given time to manipulate, push vertices into the position you want. So in this instance, I've just mirrored over my arm to match with to align with the other orthographic view, and then that way I could build out the hand. And I'll end up sort of, you'll see later on, I'll split the difference between the orthographic arm and from the arm being up into the T and the arm on the side, and just kind of find the best kind of common denominator between those two drawings. Really low poly finger, just getting that big shape. Not too worried about all the other little bits of the finger. At this point, it's really the gestalt, right? The whole of the parts being greater than any individual part, the sum of the parts, so to speak. A lot of times it's just, you can just duplicate a piece of geometry that's already there, move it on over, and start manipulating the vertices. But the lower the vertices, the fewer numbers of vertices you have, the easier it is at this stage. So if you have too many vertices, it's a real pain to move these things around.